Hey guys, good morning. Um, Glad you stopped by. Let me turn the news down a little bit. It's on repeat this morning, which isn't a bad thing when they keep repeating the same stories over and over again. It means there's not a whole lot going on. I mean, it's never good, but there's not a whole lot going on. So anyhow, this morning, and it is early. It is 7:36 in the morning. I'm an early riser. I've actually been up since about 5:15. Uh, had coffee. Now I'm on to dragon fruit mix, and but tonight we're having a chicken parmesan for dinner with homemade tomato sauce and or marinara sauce, fresh mozzarella cheese, and a chicken done in an Italian breadcrumb. But anyhow, with that for dessert, since I'm off today, I have it's Sunday, and I took an extra day off, just like a day of rest. Although I'm not truly resting, it's not like I'm sitting on the couch. But um, I wanted to have. Chris has been asking for cheesecake of some shape or form over the last couple weeks, so I thought I'd make some cheesecake bars. Now, these have a bit of a lemon flavor to it, not overpowering by any means, but it's enough to kind of brighten it up. Um, and what we'll do is we've got some what was supposed to be originally been blueberry jam, but it didn't turn out very thick, so it's more of a sauce, but that we made, and I'll use that to layer it over top of it to essentially be a lemon blueberry cheesecake, and we'll see how it goes. Never done with the blueberry topping before. I'm not quite an expert on cheesecakes of any sort. I've made a couple, but this recipe is pretty straightforward. So we'll see how it goes. All right, well, let's go through the recipe list because you'll want to get everything out at, to do it both. It's got a graham cracker crust, and then a layer of cheesecake. It's just a two-layer cheesecake bars is what they are. It's got a graham cracker crust on the bottom, and then your cheesecake filling on top. But you want to kind of get ahead of the game, get all your stuff out at once. So the graham cracker crust takes 2 cups of graham crackers, which is a lot of graham crackers. It's just a hair over 1 packet of graham crackers. It's almost 2 packets. It's 200 grams at any rate. Each cup of graham crackers weighs 100 grams, and it's about that many. Let's see, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. 13 graham crackers is 2 cups, roughly. Or it's like 206 grams. Now, you can break them off, but and make it exactly 200 grams. But I'm not going to. Second thing you'll need, and like I said, so far it's just crust, is some butter. Now, your butter, it needs to be melted. This has got a little hard on me, so I may have to pop her in the microwave for a minute. Oh, maybe not. But you want 113 grams or a half a cup of butter. That way you know. The gram thing is important. Maybe not so much with the butter, because butter comes in sticks, and unless you're using big blocks of butter, which we get sometimes, we call it government butter, but it comes in giant, like 1 pound blocks, and so it's helpful to know the grams on measurements. Plus, when baking, always weigh. I can tell you that is 113 grams. It's 1 stick of butter, half a cup. Each stick of butter is a half a cup. And that's what you'll need for the crust. Then for the filling itself, this is why I said go ahead and get your stuff together ahead of time. And I will, we'll warm this butter up real quick before we go diving into this. You'll need 16 ounces or a pound of cream cheese. And you want it at room temperature. This is why I say get it all out at the same time. So if you don't know what 16 ounces of cream cheese is, it's 2 blocks. Each block, and use unhealthy normal cream cheese, full fat. Don't use the light stuff. It doesn't turn out as rich. I know this from experience with just making cheesecakes. So you want 2 blocks of cream cheese, and you want those at room temperature. And you're going to want 2 eggs. 2 eggs right there. And you want large eggs. Large eggs out of the shell weigh about 50 grams a piece. And that's going to, maybe it'll vary by a gram or two, and that's okay, but you want large eggs. If all you have is small eggs, per se, it's 3, pretty much, comparatively. I don't know any recipe that ever really calls for small eggs or extra large eggs, but I know from experience we got a bunch of small farm eggs at one time, and it was 3 eggs to equal that 100 grams. So 3 small eggs equals 2 large eggs. I don't know if you'll ever use that, but there it is. With that, you will also need a tablespoon of lemon juice, a teaspoon of vanilla, and then the last ingredient, this is a really easy recipe, is a 1/2 cup of sugar. Just plain old white granulated, I'm going to put it in my coffee type sugar, or over your Cheerios or your Rice Krispies, if you're into that sort of thing. So let me warm this butter up, back up real quick. I warmed it up once because you want it to be melted. You don't want it, so you can either put it in the saucepan, if you have a small saucepan. I do not. And warm it up and keep it warm, or you can do like I did. I microwaved it. If you microwave butter, do it 30 seconds at a time and make sure it's covered. If you don't, then you could run into an issue of it exploding in your microwave, and that's never cool. Okay, let me get this. I'm just going to go about 10-15 seconds, and then to get it remelted. It's not completely unmelted. Once you melt butter, it never completely gets hard again unless you stick it in the fridge. But it unless you've got a room, you're in a room that's like 150 degrees, it will solidify. It'll start to not be liquid anymore. Okay, so after you get your ingredients together, warm up your oven. You want your oven at 350 degrees. That way it has time to cycle and stay at 350 degrees. So let me, actually here, I don't even need to stop filming, so to speak. We can just go down to right there. All right. It'll save us that whole when I come back thing. All right, so things you'll need to make the crust. There goes the oven. Food processor, right here. A 9x13 pan. Now you can use an 8x8, but you'll have to cut this mix in half, so you're not doing a lot for everybody. But 9x13 pan, I got this put in foil. That way, after we're done and we let this cool, because it's going to have to cool. It's cheesecake. You have to put it in the fridge. I can grab the foil and lift it up and pull it out. You'll see. So you got a couple options here. In this case, I'm going to take my 1/2 cup of butter, and I'm going to use just a little bit of it, and I'm going to butter the foil. All right. Now, you don't have to necessarily use butter on this. You can use cooking spray if you don't want the butter, but I mean, let's be honest, it's cheesecake is what it comes down to, and it's not like cheesecake is healthy. So if you're going to run with it, might as well go, if you're going to make it knowing that it's not going to be, helpful to your waistline, why not use the butter? It gives better flavor. All right, so the next thing that we want to do, we're going to take it, always have dishwater ready, because that way you can wash your dishes as you go. That way you don't have a big pile of dishes at the end. So the next thing we're going to do is set this pan aside because we're not going to need it for a minute, you know. And we're going to get the used food processor. Because what we're going to do is we're going to basically, now, if you don't have a food processor, it's fine. You don't absolutely need one for this step. I mean, well, that was interesting. Food processor was on. All right, never leave your equipment plugged in. Always unplug it, and especially if you have small kids, because that could lead you to trouble. So, but anyhow, what I'm saying, or what I was saying was, if you don't have a food processor in order to grind up your graham crackers, it's okay. You can simply take a Ziploc baggie, put your graham crackers in that, take like a meat hammer or a regular hammer, or a rolling pin, and just pound it in the bag, and it'll turn to crumbs. I have a processor, and if you're going to buy a processor, you should use it. So you're just simply going to, kind of break up the graham crackers so you can get it in, so you can get them in there. And then this way, all we're going to do is just run it until they are crumbs. Because your graham cracker crust, this is really just one of the easiest things to make in the world. The only thing that is hard about this recipe, or most cheesecakes for that matter, the hardest part is the wait while it sits in the fridge. Yeah, because you have to let it sit for hours in the fridge to cool down to become cheesecake. So we're just going to process this for a minute and get these down to crumbs. Maybe. Oh. What do we got going on? I mean, really, just like that. See, everybody has problems on it. Wasn't plugged in, wasn't coming on. But first, when I plugged it in, it came on. Crazy talk. That's just all that comes down to. But you want to get it to a crumb consistency. I mean, it should, be crumbs. Now you can buy these. You can buy graham crackers that are already done up in crumbs. I never have. You pay twice as much for somebody else to do what we just did for your graham crackers. I know that I got this recipe off of Joy of Baking, because that's where I pretty much get all my baking recipes. And she uses a digestive biscuit. You can't find them here in our town. I would like to try them someday. I don't like to order things online. When it comes to stuff like that, I mean, you're ordering. It's basically an English graham cracker of sorts, and I always worry that you order something like that online, it's not going to be whole when you get it. So I just use graham crackers, which is awesome in and of itself. I love graham cracker crust. So after we get that down to crumbs, we're going to pour in some butter. And you may not need all the butter, because what you're trying to do is just get the graham crackers wet. Depending on how fresh your graham crackers are, depends on how much butter you need. And we put the lid back on, and then we're just going to mix this up to get everything wet, is all we're going to do. Yeah. Here, I'll show it to you real quick. So it's just wet. I mean, clumped together, but it doesn't quite stay completely together. You know, I kind of like when we were making the crust for the pies. Same principle, only maybe not quite as wet. Because what we're going to do is we're going to bake this in the oven. All right, so that's pretty much all the ingredients for the graham cracker crust. It's literally just graham crackers and butter. And then I'm going to wash these 2 bowls real quick. Get that out of the way. Once again, wash as you go. I mean, you don't have to, but it seems more daunting when you have 20 dishes, 25 dishes to do before, other than just doing them a couple at a time. So now that we got that good to go, get the blades out of there. And remember, if you're not washing right away, don't ever put anything sharp in your sink. Somebody walks by and goes to grab that, puts their hand in that sink and catches the blade, and they get hurt, you'll be sad. So the next thing we're going to do is just take the graham cracker crust and we're going to put it in our 9x13 buttered up or sprayed or whatever pan. All the butter does is kind of give you an extra assurance, a little extra assurance that it's not going to stick to the foil. I mean, it shouldn't stick to the foil anyhow because we got butter in the graham crackers. But you just never know. And if you noticed, I used the butter that I was using to make the graham cracker crust to put on the foil. And initially when I first saw this recipe, I was like, well, that takes away a little bit from the graham cracker crust. Not much by any means, but would you need a little extra, I guess was my first thought. And the answer is no, because you are literally putting the graham cracker crust on top of the butter that you're making. So, you don't really need that. But you'll want to spread this out really good. Make sure it's even. After you get initially spread out, you can do this one of 2 ways. You can either pack it down with your hand, like I'm doing here, or make sure your hands are clean. I don't know why they wouldn't be, but I feel the need to tell you that anyhow. Now you want to make sure your crust is even, but you want to pack it down. Make sure you get it in the corners, and running good. So it'll just be weird if it's not even. You'll get like one piece that has like no cheesecake filling. You'll have one piece, because it's all graham cracker crust, and then you'll have one piece that's all cheesecake filling and no graham cracker crust. It probably won't hold together real well. And inevitably, you're going to you will end up with a lot of crust in the center, and it'll thin out on the edges. Kind of like when you're rolling out the pie. If you're not careful, you end up with a lot of pie dough in a thick pie dough in the middle and a thinner pie dough on the edge. And your edges can burn that way in a pie's case. So with your spoon, as you're doing this, just run it across the top. And you'll feel, if you have any lumps, bumps, high spots, you will feel them, and it'll give you the opportunity to smooth them out. You can smooth them out by just literally just sitting here with your spoon and moving it back and forth. You don't even have to put a whole lot of pressure on it. It kind of does the work for you, which is pretty awesome. All right. There is that. Nope. And it is like I said, it's not a horribly, like sticky damp mixture. You don't want it to be. By baking it, and then we're going to let it cool, for about 10-15 minutes. And that'll work, and that helps set this. Okay, so all we have to do after we get that done, I mean, I'm telling you, wasn't that super easy? That was super easy. So all we're going to do is stick this in the oven, 350 degrees, make sure it's cycled through, and we're going to put it in here for 10 minutes. And don't cheat yourself on that. It should, you notice it was like a light color because it was graham crackers and butter that hadn't had anything done to it yet. It was kind of light in color. Now when it comes out, and start checking it at about 6-7 minutes, it'll have a darker color to it. You'll be able to smell it. It will look amazing. All right, so we're gonna let that bake for 10 minutes, and then when we come back, we'll pull it out of the oven, set it on the cooling rack, and let it cool for about 10-15 minutes. And then we can make our filling while we're doing that. All right, well, I'm gonna let that bake. I'm gonna get this part cleaned up, get it out of our hair, and then when we come back, we'll pull it out of the oven, and we'll make our filling, and then put it back in the oven. All right, I'll see you here in just a few. Okay, so it's been 10 minutes. Well, I mean, it has been for you. It's been like 20 seconds. I didn't really think you needed to see me pull it out of the oven, so I omitted that part. But I just pulled it out of the oven. I got it over here on the cooling rack, and we're going to let it cool. You want to let it cool for about 10 minutes. But that's okay, because while it's cooling, we can go ahead and make the filling. All right, so we switched out what we're using. We're now using a stand mixer right there, and you're going to need the paddle attachment. All right, so let me get us adjusted to where we can see what we're doing here, and we'll make the filling, because this is the best part, literally. So it's not hard to do. Like I said, so I was thinking about when you bake most things, you want your stuff at room temperature, and you have to ask why. Yes, I have the recipe written down. You should always write down your recipes. In the beginning, they'll be easy to remember, but as you learn how to bake, much like cooking, like right now, I have 9 different cookie recipes, 6 different cake recipes, and a couple, 2-3 bar style. Not by bar, I mean you cook it like we're doing now. This is a cheesecake bar, but it's hard to remember all that. So even with people with the best memories, struggle. But anyhow, so write it down. But room temperature. The reason why you want things at room temperature is it's easier to mix them. Now, you don't want to leave them set out all day. Eggs, depending on the temperature of your kitchen, about 30 minutes ahead of time, 45 minutes ahead of time. Cream cheese, same way. If you're using butter to make cookies, let them set out for 45 minutes. They should be soft to the touch. You should be able to put your finger in them. I mean, like if you look at this cream cheese right here, I can stick my finger in it. It's still cool, but it's mushy. Well, not mushy, but it's pliable. And what that does is it helps with the process. So let's say your stuff isn't completely cool. Let me throw my fine china away real quick. So let's say your stuff isn't completely warm temperature, especially like butter. As you mix it, the temperature rises in it. Friction does that to it. Okay, so you put your cream cheese in the mixer. Now, I don't know if I mentioned it, only because I'm not using it. You can put lemon zest in this also. Fresh lemon zest. If you have a lemon and you want to zest it, it's the entire lemon. It's about a teaspoon's worth of zest. If you do use lemon zest, which I'd like to try it, and if I had, like I said, if I had a lemon, I probably would. Mix it into your sugar first. That way it helps keep it, because lemon zest likes to naturally clump, and the sugar will help it to not clump. So we're going to start with the cream cheese, 2 bars, 16 ounces. and your half a cup of sugar, which is yeah, see, that's how much I can remember things, is 100 grams. You would think I could just remember that. We just talked about it. It is 100 grams of sugar or a half cup. Um, yeah, if you don't have a scale, get one. But if you don't, it's okay. Just level. If you're going to, let me show you this real quick. And this is, I don't think it's a half a cup. It's a third a cup. But if you're going to use just measuring cups, you reach in there, you scoop out what you're getting, take it a butter knife or a knife of any kind, but butter knife preferred, that way you don't cut yourself. And you're going to take it, stick it on the edge, and go across. And any extra that's on top, that way you have a level cup. The reason why you weigh versus even using a measuring cup, if possible, is no measuring cup is built the same. They're all fairly accurate, but not completely accurate. But if you weigh them, you're in good shape. Okay, so we're going to mix this real quick, and then we'll add the last 3 ingredients. Now, when you're mixing this, you don't want to go full bore, high speed. You don't want to go a whole lot faster than like medium, which in the KitchenAid world is 4. And it's 4 to 4.5. The reason for that is you don't want a whole lot of air in your cheesecake. Cheesecake is traditionally a denser cake, and you don't want to promote a whole lot of air in it. Another important thing you want to do is make sure you're scraping. You want to, periodically, even if it doesn't matter what you're baking or using in your mixer, you want to stop, scrape it. Although this is mixed, but you want to scrape it and scrape the sides just to make sure everything's incorporated. I know with most mixers, not all mixers, I'm sure, but at least I know our mixer and most mixers have a tendency to want to leave stuff at the bottom of the bowl. And so you want to make sure you get that in there and get it mixed. And like I said, this is pretty well mixed up. But you want to double check. It never hurts. Scraping your bowl never hurt anything. And sometimes you may stop halfway through the mixing process and scrape your bowl if you see things aren't getting incorporated right, or things like that. All right, so after we get those mixed, we're going to add our lemon juice, which is important, and we're going to add our vanilla. And vanilla is mostly flavor, but it's important. And then just quickly wash out your dishes, because that's the right thing to do. As it sits right now, I literally have like 3 dishes to wash when we're done. And then we're going to mix that. We're going to always lock if you're using a stand mixer, make sure you lock your mixer in place. And once again, don't go above medium. When mixing it, we don't want a whole lot of air in there by any means. Oh, it smells good. You can smell the lemon and the vanilla. It's really kind of cool. All right, we got that mixed in. Pop it out. Bring the stuff back down into off the sides. Yeah. It's so creamy. It's just awesome. Cheesecake isn't hard by any means. And they have like no bake cheesecake recipes where you don't have to bake it. We tried them a couple times, and we're under the impression they don't seem to turn out quite as well as your traditional baked cheesecake. And by doing them in bar form, you don't have to, because cheesecake requires, a water bath and, or can, depending on the cheesecake you make. Oh, that tastes delicious. All right, so we got that in there. Next thing we're going to incorporate, the last thing to incorporate, is our eggs. 2 eggs, room temperature. And we're going to put them in one at a time. That way we can ensure that they get mixed completely through, and it's good and even. At least I'm assuming that's why we do it. The reality of it is that's what the recipe says to do, so that's what I do. I got one end, got the other end. Let that mix in there. While that's mixing in there, we're gonna wash this last dish. All right. Take that out. Oh, look at that. Beautiful. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. So make sure you get as much as you can off of the... I often wonder when people write recipes, baking recipes that involve mixers, do they account for what little loss there is, like on your, in this case, the paddle attachment or your whisk, or, when figuring the recipe, or is that just me overthinking it? I don't know. So we'll take that off. That going like that. Stick that in the sink. And then just give it, once you're done with it, give it a good, quick, mix around. Make sure everything's truly in there. Your eggs are all mixed in. And, I don't think you can see it on camera, but there's like small little lumps of cream cheese in there. It's okay, because what's going to happen is as this bakes, it's going to melt and incorporate itself in. So that's not a horrible thing by any means. It will be okay. And if you make this and say it doesn't turn out or something goes wrong, it's okay. It truly is. Baking, like cooking, is a process to be enjoyed. I had a friend of mine, we were talking yesterday about cooking, and he said that cooking at home stresses him out. He worries about it being perfect. Let me put this away real quick. And I told him, I said, cooking and baking, it's okay to screw it up the first time. That's how you learn. And he worries about following the recipe to a T. Now with baking, there's some truth to following a recipe to a T, but when it comes to cooking, you don't ever have to follow a recipe to a T. Unless you're making something that's French. And then French, to make it, the French have a whole cooking style all their own. All right, so I don't know if I mentioned it, but when you take your crust out of the oven, don't turn your oven off, because we're going to need it again. And we're going to bake this at 350 degrees. So we take our crack. I don't know if you saw it, but see how it's darker now. It's set, which is awesome. And then we're literally, this is the last step before baking, is just pour your batter on top of your graham cracker crust. And then this way we can take it and, Hi, sweetheart. Hold on. Oh. Yeah, I'm making a video.
Hi.
Yeah, what are you getting into? Alright, so we scrape this out as such. And you want to get as much of this creamy goodness out as possible. I mean, I've scraped every inch out of it, but it definitely helps to get most of it out. And then we're going to grab an offset spatula. If I can find my offset spatula. There it is. offset spatula, and we're just going to smooth it out. I mean, that's all we need to do is smooth it out. Now to bake this, you want to bake it for about 15 to 20 minutes. Every oven varies a little. There's no two ovens the same. Another important thing is to make sure you turn it halfway through baking. No oven anywhere ever created bakes evenly. So by turning it 180 degrees, front to back or back side, whatever, it helps to ensure some even baking in it, which is it's important. I mean, you don't want one side burnt, the other side not burnt, or raw for that matter. I'd like to think that wouldn't happen, but it could. All right, got that going on. We are set to go in the oven. Do what, huh? You're cute. All right. All right, so we're going to put this in the oven. Watch out, man. Oh, you're right. We're going to set the timer for, we'll do 15 minutes to start. And then we'll check it and make sure it's done. All right, so when I pull it out of the oven, we'll pull it out, we'll take a look at it, and I'll show you what to look for doneness. All right, I'll see you here in just a millisecond. All right, so out of the oven, 15 minutes. Easy enough. Really, to make this is incredibly easy. So things you want to look for, I'm going to use a towel because it's still hot, is you want to be able to go like that, and it should not jiggle. All right, and the lighting's kind of horrible in here, but we'll see if you can see it. Nah, not really. It should have a light sheen to it. Kind of like it's damp. You know, not sopping wet, but damp. That's how you'll know it's done. So, the next few steps, there's only 2 steps left, and in my opinion, they're the hardest ones to deal with. So, we have to let this sit and cool to room temperature. It's going to take about an hour. And then after that, we're going to cover it. And I'll put some foil over the top, or saran wrap, one of the two. And put it in the fridge. You have to put it in the fridge 4 to 6 hours. Minimum 4 to 6 hours. Minimum 4 hours, but 4 to 6 hours. And cheesecake, for all its coolness, the longer you let it sit in the fridge, the better. Now, if you're making this the day before and you can let it sit overnight, for 24 hours in the fridge, that's optimal to do. But in this case, we're going to let it sit for about 5-6 hours in the fridge after it cools. So, I mean, you're talking 6 to 7 hours before we can cut into this bad boy and give it a taste. So, that being said, make sure you turn your oven off. That's important. Oven off. Let it cool down. Let your cheesecake bars cool down. And then when I come back, we'll give it a shot. See how it tastes. You never know. That's the cool thing about cooking and baking. Especially baking. Even if you follow the recipe, sometimes things can change. Cream cheese is a little warmer. Sugar's a little older. I mean, whatever. Graham crackers may not have been as optimal as you wanted. But we'll see. All right? Hopefully it turns out just as good as it does any other time. All right? I'll see you here in just a little bit. All right, guys. I let this sit for about 5 hours. It's been almost exactly 5 hours. So here we are, nice and solid. So I guess let's take it out and cut a piece and see where it goes. See how it just lifts out nice and easy. Yeah, movie so you can kind of see what I'm doing. There we go. Get the pan out of there. The other nice thing about aluminum foil is you don't need a perfect pan. Although I did learn that gently used pans that have some wear on them compared to a brand new pan actually retain more even heat. I learned that on America's Test Kitchen on PBS. So now you know. All right, so we have now cut them as big and as small as you want. That's completely up to you and yours. I'm just going to cut me a little piece so we can try it because I'm going to have this tonight for dinner and as a wonderful dessert. And then that way, you know, the whole family can enjoy it. But we're going to cut off a little corner piece here and see where we're at. And we'll see how it tastes. Move the rest of that back. But if you look, I mean, you've got a really nice balance between the two. Not way too much. It's not really super thick cream cheese, but it's got, you know, a little bit more than the crumb cut or the graham cracker crust. So, that is really good. It's creamy, very cheesecakey. You can barely, if at all, taste the lemon in it. It just tastes like a nice cheesecake. Only it's not thick. It's got a nice balance between the crust. That graham cracker crust is amazing. It's almost foolproof. Graham cracker crust is so foolproof. And if you're scared to make a cheesecake, this would be a nice introduction to it. It's not hard. It doesn't have quite the steps that a cheesecake does. Sorry, I have to eat another bite because it's really good. I'd try it. We're going to drizzle some blueberries over it, but you could also do chocolate or caramel or strawberries. Or you can eat it just like this out of the pan. Completely up to you. I mean, really, it's your world to live in, so however you like to do your cheesecake. But it just tastes like a really good cheesecake in bar form. So I would definitely recommend that. So we were out shopping while we're letting that refrigerate, and we bought us a nice cast iron wok. Really cool. So we'll see how it works. Maybe I'll tell you what we can do. Next Wednesday, I was going to do French onion chicken, but maybe, just maybe, we'll test this wok out and do a pepper steak in a wok. I'll be curious to see how long it takes to get this thing up high in heat. You got to have it high in heat, or it does not sear quickly. But we'll see. We'll see how it works on a electric stove. All right. Well, I really do hope you try out this cheesecake bars because they're really easy. Like I said, the hardest part is just waiting for it to sit in the fridge for, 4 to 6 hours. But well worth the wait when it's over. All right, you guys have a great day. I love you. Tell somebody else you love them. That'll make their day a whole lot better, I promise. And we'll see you again real soon. All right, bye.